I am not sure where to start this. Today's been a rough morning. I've kind of had a hard time this morning. And I don't even know where to start. Um, I don't know. I've come to the realization that I know a lot of not very nice people. And I've allowed myself to be surrounded by some not very nice people, and that's the best way that I can put it. Um, some of these people seemed nice in the beginning, friendly, um, interesting, interested, and that's all kind of gone to the wayside. And one thing that they don't really tell you in high school is that, do you remember the movie Mean Girls? With, with, anyway, the movie Mean Girls, it was all set in high school, and it was a bunch of girls that were friends but not friends and not very nice to each other, and we all remember the movie. I don't need to go over the synopsis, but I think that we all remember something like that in high school, and nobody tells you that it continues afterwards, well afterwards. I'm in my mid 30s to late 30s. I'm 37. And I still have to deal with mean girls. And it sucks. It really sucks. I don't know how to not internalize it. And I kind of had a bit of a fit this morning, feeling like really low on the worthwhile human being totem pole. It's really hard not to internalize that. It's hard to not feel like something is wrong with you. I just sort of feel like something's wrong with me. I don't know. Anyway, obviously, I thought I was kind of over this. I didn't think I was going to start crying again. I promise I don't always cry. I do other things other than cry, but this was sort of my way of getting things out of my system, and I'm hurting. And it feels like nobody cares. In fact, with some people, it feels like they want to hurt you. And that's what I mean is I've sort of surrounded myself and invested myself in mean people. And I don't know why I've done that, why I continue to do that. I don't know. Anyway, I know I haven't been around for a while. I've kind of been, well, okay, so last week, my husband ended up home for 3 days out of 5. And I love my husband and I love spending time with him. It's just hard to get into some sort of a rhythm and routine when he's home because things are different when he's home. And that's not his fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it is. So anyway, he was home and the kids being home and me kind of dealing with stuff, I guess. I'm fighting off a bout of depression. It comes and goes. I guess maybe everybody has to go through that every now and again. But so right now is sort of a now time for me, and I've been fighting it off because I don't like feeling depressed. but I can't control it. God knows if I could, I would. I have to fight to get into a positive mindset. And I don't know, I've just kind of been feeling pretty down. And it's hard to get out of that, you know? I don't even know what I'm talking about today. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how to get myself out of the entrenchment of not very nice people who don't give a shit. And they don't. And that's okay. They don't have to. It's not all about me. But I would rather have a few people who did give a shit, than surrounded by people who, dozens of people who don't. And I'm struggling with that. I don't open up to people. I think I said that in my first video. I have a hard time opening up to people. I have a hard time trusting people. And I think maybe because of that, people keep their distance from me. And then I get entrenched in toxicity, for lack of a better term, and I internalize their bullshit as something to do with me. And I don't know how to not feel like it's about me. I guess we've all been there. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got a text and it just sort of threw me for a loop. What was I saying? Anyway, I'm going to turn this over so I don't have to look at it. So what was I saying? I have a hard time trusting people due to this reason or the other. And so when you don't trust, you sort of put on this mask and you put on this front that isn't really you. And I think that at the end of the day, people can see through that and they feel like you're bullshitting them, which you kind of are, but you're not bullshitting them out of maliciousness. It's just, and it's nothing about them necessarily. It's all about you. So anyway, you keep your distance from people and you don't allow yourself to get close to people. And I guess at the end of the day, people can see that. And so they are like, all right, well, if they're not going to get close to me, I'm not going to get close to them. And then you find yourself entrenched in people who don't give a shit and who treat you awfully. And it's hard not to internalize that. It's hard not to feel like it's your fault, that there's something wrong with you. When I know logically, and I know, for lack of a better term, clinically, it has everything to do with them. And their bullshit that they're dishing out has no reflection on me. But it's hard not to let that be a reflection on me, to me. I feel like if I were more XYZ or less ABC, then maybe people might like me more. People might want to be my friend more. And, if it were my daughter or if it were my son that were coming to me and saying these same sort of things, then my advice to them would be, you don't need them as friends if they can't accept you for who you are and how you think and what you do and all that other kind of stuff. You don't change for somebody else, because then it's not real. And why waste your time on anything that's not real? I don't know. I think I put too much stock into people. I think I make people, certain people, some people, lots of people, to be more important than what they really are. And I don't know why. I have various theories, but I think one of the theories is I don't have family, really. I have a few cousins that I never see. Even when they're in town, they don't pick up the phone and say, hey, let's do lunch. I am not close with my dad. I am estranged from my mom, and I still think for good reason. So I guess because of the sense of abandonment and the sense of loneliness that comes with not having any family, I get attached to people really fast, and all the people, I guess to kind of fill that void. And instead of trying to fill that void, I think I just need to let it go, because it's never going to be filled. It's just not. My dad doesn't give a shit, and my mom is toxic. She's just not good for me and my family, and I can't, you know how the saying goes, screw with me all you want, don't screw with my kids, don't screw with my husband, don't screw with my dog. I mean, and I think she stopped short of the dogs, but she did and said unkind things about my children, one in particular, and she said and did unkind things about me to my husband. And, she was always abusive as I was growing up, and she still won't admit that to this day. The last time I got her to quasi-admit that she was abusive to me, she blamed me. She said that, yeah, I went too far. I did what other people told me I was supposed to do when it came to a troublesome child, but you knew which buttons to push, and so it's your fault that, I used to drag you around the house by your hair, or that I would poke my fingers into your chest so hard that you would have a huge bruise right there. That's your fault, dude. If you just, whatever, if you were just a better kid, maybe I would have treated you like a decent human being. That's what I got. And, I believed that for a long time. And, anyway, it's that kind of mentality. To this day, I had her blocked from my phone, but she would text my ex-husband, and he would keep me apprised of what she was saying, or whatever. He doesn't, as far as what my ex-husband says, he doesn't correspond with her, but he wants to know should she decide to make a surprise trip to our hometown. Because she lives in another state. But God knows she could show up at any time. Who knows? Anyway, she texted him something along the lines of, if your goal was to rip out my soul, or rip my soul to shreds, or something like that, by not talking to me, then you've succeeded. And she's just so entrenched that this is something to do with her. It's not out of punishment to her. It's out of protection of me and my children and my loved ones. That's why I can't have anything to do with her, because she's a toxic person. I don't want to punish her, but it's not safe and it's not sane to have anything to do with her at all. It's just not. But she still makes it all about her. She makes it that we are evil people and we are just trying to punish her and make her feel bad. I don't want her to feel bad. I can't help that she feels bad. And I'm not going to change my course of action, nor my resolve to not let her have anything to do with me because she's toxic. She's mean. She's a mean person. I tell you what, she called both my ex-husband before he and I married, and my current husband before he and I married, and told them that they shouldn't marry me, that they would regret it because I'm this awful person. My own mother, yay. She would call and harangue me for hours on the phone about how awful I am and how awful I have made her life. And again, if I had just been a better kid, she would have treated me like a decent human being. Everything was my fault. And I would hear this for hours as an adult, grown woman. Both my ex-husband and my husband can attest that I didn't feel like I could put down the phone, and they would try to get me to put down the phone, to not listen to this sort of nonsense, and I couldn't, and I would sit there and I would cry, and I would feel so anxious and so caught up in her illness that I would have sweat rings from like from the middle of my shoulder all the way back and halfway down, because I was under such stress and anxiety having to talk to her. And when I tell you what, I dealt with her bullshit for years. And it was when she called my stepson a little asshole that I stopped. And in retaliation for that, she would send things to my daughters at their dad's house and send things to their stepsisters, which is fine, but she would neglect my bonus child and my youngest child. She wouldn't send anything to them. And the last I actually heard from her, I get a random email every now and again, but I have it blocked, so I have to go into my email and search to see if she sent anything, and I don't really do that all that often. Anyway, the last communication I'd had with her was she was wanting to send me, she told me for months that she was going to send me these boxes full of things. She had a whole bunch of things set to the side for me, and she wouldn't tell me what was in them. I don't know if I really asked, but it doesn't really matter. What she ended up sending was a half a dozen huge boxes full of everything that ever had anything to do with me or my children. Every single baby picture of mine, not to mention every single baby picture I ever sent her of my girls. Christmas presents that she opened but never used, she threw in that box. Every scrap of paper that my oldest daughter ever scribbled on at her house, everything was sent back to me. And I took offense at it, and she found out I took offense at it, so she sent me this email that said, well, you know, I only sent you these things because maybe your children would be curious about what you were like when you were a kid. And I'm not stupid enough to believe that, and I don't know, every time, it's not like I go around telling the story all the time, but now it's out there for the world. Anytime that I've told this story, people can't believe that a mom would do that. Who does that? Who sends everything? I'm telling you, she sent a box full of basically trash. I guess it was things that she had when I was a baby, like a little, almost like a tackle box, but it was well before caboodles were all the rage. It was when I was really little. Anyway, it had like a little tube of toothpaste and like bandages from 30 some odd years ago. Just trash. It was all trash. And I'm telling you, every single thing that ever had anything to do with me, she got rid of. And at least she sent it to me. At least she didn't put it in the trash, but I'm supposed to be thankful for that. She's not well. And my dad and I live in the same small town of about 35, 40,000 people. And my dad and my relationship has been tumultuous since I was 18, maybe even a little younger, but I left home when I was 18. I left, and it was just before the Thanksgiving holiday, and my dad told me that if I was going to leave, don't come back until after the holidays, and I didn't. I stayed away, and I tried to reach out several times through phone calls and through letters, and he was reciprocating some. I mean, I know that when I left, I hurt him, and I get that, and I own that. That's my responsibility. But after a while, things just sort of fell to the wayside, and I tried for years to reach out and say that I'm sorry. And he never really accepted my apology. And I came back to this same small town that I live in after my first daughter was born. She was 3 or 4 at the time. She's now 15. She was 3 just before she turned 4. And I reached out and let them know that I was back in town. And my brother found me at a football game, and he gave me a big hug and said, "Oh my God, we've missed you, and I really want to catch up. Let's do lunch." And the next week, somebody sent flowers signed from my father and my stepmother and my brother. And I sent a note and said thank you, and nothing since then. And since then, I invited them to my first wedding. I invited them to my second wedding. They didn't come to either one. We live not even 10, 15 minutes away from each other. They won't talk to me. And years ago, I guess it was 6 or 7 years ago, I found out where my dad worked. I thought I figured out how their email was set up, like if it was, first initial, last name, or last name, first initial, or however companies set up their emails. I thought I'd figured it out, and I tried to send them an email, and it got lost, and their system administrator figured out who it went to, and I had a cousin at the time who was telling me all these things about why different versions of the truth. I don't even know if it was true. Anyway, different reasons on why I was no longer welcome in the family, according to my dad. And so I took all this information that I got from her that I thought was true, and I tried to go line item and say, no, it's not this, it's not that, it's not X, it's not Y, it's not Z, it really is A, B, C. And I got back a very terse, very firm email that sort of chewed me up one side, down the other, and the last words on the email, or some of the last words on the email, were, "Don't ever try to contact me again." And I haven't. I've respected that. It sucks. Holidays suck. Father's Day sucks. My brother's birthday just passed, and I can't reach out and say happy birthday. I can't, hey, let's go to lunch. It's hard. This has been going on nearly 20 years. And there's a whole slew of history. Of course there is. Everybody has. When you get to be my age, everybody has, volumes of history. So you can't go through everything. But anyway, because of those two situations, maybe that's why I just sort of attach myself to people and need to be accepted because I have a deep insecurity of not being accepted. And you know what? I totally get, I probably need therapy. I probably need to work through these things with a professional, but my mother is a therapist. She has 2 PhDs, and she works in a place that she shouldn't work, I don't think, as she is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And if someone like that can get a license, I don't, who knows who else can get a license? And I don't trust therapists and counselors. I don't. It's not their fault. Who would? You know? Anyway. So I guess I've rambled on enough. I don't know how I'm going to edit all this together. Anyway. Thanks for listening. It's been a long morning. Kind of a lot of things going through my head. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. Who knows? Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.